concerts. It's a moment in time when musicians talk about how hard the past few years have been as a performing musician. We don't have one of those stories because we only missed 3 weeks during the entire lockdown, but things got super weird. First, we got sad, but then Rebecca read an article that the animals at the Oakland Zoo were missing human interaction. So she wrote them an email and said, would the animals appreciate a concert? Since the zoo was closed. And the keeper wrote back, yes. So we dragged the band down to the Oakland Zoo. But first we stopped at the goats. They were wildly disinterested. Over to the elephants. The elephants immediately walked away when we started playing, except for one who returned and began to dance, or so we thought. But when the keeper stopped us and said, you've angered the elephant, please stop playing. By this point in time, the keepers were getting pretty bored. They put us in the tortoise enclosure and had us play some Guns N' Roses for a sleeping tortoise. There's actually a video of this. Over to the otters. Maybe they're interested, maybe they're just otters. But then we went over to the macaws, who were a bit snobby about our music. But they brought out a little green parrot named Brock, short for broccoli. Now, Broccoli's a parrot they take around to all the elementary schools, and we started playing some slow blues, and little Broccoli starts singing with us, perfectly in tune. This is all online. Type in Dirty Cello and Parrot. Some of you are nodding out there if you've seen it. And you hear us do the blues with a parrot taking solos. Now, this went everywhere. We were on all the news stations, things like that. And before long, real NBC morning show calls us and says, please come on the show. We need something to make people feel good. So they sent the news crew out to the Oakland Zoo. We all arrived. We started doing our song. Out they've been Brock and... We tried every song we knew, at least the first 10 seconds of it, for about 2.5 hours, hoping the parrot would sing, and he never sang again. But then we realized we probably should be playing for people. But things were a bit locked down. But you know where's a safe place you can really separate? Buffalo ranches. We began a tour of the buffalo ranches of California because we assigned each family a hay bale. And they could really spread out. Apple Orchard in Mendocino, same plan until someone called the sheriff. But then we found a place that never shut down, no matter what happened during the lockdown. You two might want to put your fingers in your ears for a minute. And this was nudist resorts. So picture this, we're about to do a show and we look out there and everyone is following every rule. They are standing 6 feet apart. They are wearing their masks. And that was it. Rebecca calls the band over. She's like, you know, when they say when you're nervous about a concert, you're supposed to imagine the audience. Yeah, not in real life, it turns out. So we start playing some groovy rock and roll, and people are dancing, having a good time, which was weird. And I unthinkingly call a fast bluegrass song. And the dancing that began there, Rebecca described as something you can never unsee. So we did our little fast bluegrass, and then the hula hoops came out, and so as everything progressed, if you looked up a band that played at zoos, we were the first one that popped up. So we have played 4 zoo concerts and 5 naked people concerts. But before we finish the story, Rebecca always reminds me to remind everybody that we kept our clothes firmly in place. So in honor of all that, we're going to play the same fast bluegrass song we played for the naked people. more than anything else. And which one was that, Rebecca?
That devil went down to Georgia. Devil went down to Georgia. He was so buff over steel. In a vine, he's way high. He's willing to make a deal. He kept cross, his shirt mates on, middle playing hot. Got choked up on paper stumps. Boy, let me tell you what. Guess you didn't know it. I'm a middle player too. If you care, take care. I'll make it better for you.
orchestras, right? And she's getting pretty bored. So she sits in the back, she has to wear sleeves down to here, cover her toes, everything like that, and play a bunch of long, boring notes, because that's what cellos do. And she said after a while, I want to let my hair down and do something a little different. So she signed up for what was considered a prestigious competition, Vallejo's Got Talent. Now, the person who laughed lived in the Bay Area at some point in time, because we all make fun of Vallejo. And what this was, this is a sketchy little town, and Vallejo's Got Talent was in a bookstore in the basement. And there were a few acts, and I'm very proud to say Rebecca won first prize. A grand prize of $50. An 8-year-old girl doing Disney songs won second place. And what Rebecca did, she started off with a very pretty classical song and then busted into a shredding classic rock song where she took out the guitar part and shredded on the cello. And after the show, people came up and said, do another. And she said, I only know one song. Like that. But we started doing this whole Dirty Cello project, and before long, Real America's Got Talent gave her a call and said, come be on the show. Now, if you ever watched that show and thought, is it fake? Way more than you can imagine. Way more. In fact, Rebecca is forbidden from ever speaking of it publicly. The first thing they do is sit her down with a lawyer and say, these are the things you can never say, this is the non-disclosure agreement, we will sue you. And I was there with her, kind of standing in the back, they didn't notice me, so that's what I get to talk about. First thing, everything's pre-planned. All the people waiting in line to audition, they're not going on the show. They picked the people long before the audition. They brought Rebecca to a separate place and drove past the line, cookies, things like that. Okay, so your role as weird cello player from San Francisco, you'll be on the Portland show, and you'll be on the Portland show in 4 days. We will also be picking your song for you. You do not pick your own song because they pre-decided Rebecca was going to lose. It's all decided long before she plays. And if she was going to win, they'd pay for the rights to a good song. But she wasn't going to win, so they got this obscure Joe Satriani song that like 4 people in the world have heard. And so we go up to Portland, and I got to sneak in with her again by carrying the cello as her official cello carrier. And they locked her in a room. The band wasn't allowed to come with her. She had to perform to a backing track. And we're locked in this room. They say, you leave the room, you're off the show. And so they have us sit there for hours.